There comes a moment in a person's life when something deep inside begins to stir quietly at first, almost unnoticeable, but impossible to ignore once it takes hold. It's not a voice you hear with your ears, but it speaks with clarity to your soul. You begin to sense that something isn't right anymore. Things that once felt normal begin to feel heavy. Habits you once justified start to trouble your heart. And you may not even understand why. This is not coincidence. This is not emotion alone. This is a holy interruption. It doesn't come to condemn you, but it comes to awaken you. You may find yourself reflecting more than usual, thinking about your choices, your direction, your purpose. You may feel an unusual discomfort in situations that never bothered you before. Conversations that once entertained you now leave you feeling empty. Environments you once enjoyed begin to feel out of place. And in those quiet moments, when everything else fades away, there is that gentle but persistent knowing. Something must change. That feeling is sacred, because the Spirit does not shout to force transformation. He whispers to invite it. And oh, how easy it is to misunderstand that whisper. Many people mistake it for anxiety. Others try to silence it by distracting themselves, filling their time, their minds, their lives with noise, anything to avoid facing that inner stirring. But the more you try to ignore it, the stronger it becomes. Not louder, but deeper. It reaches into places no one else can touch. You begin to realize that this conviction is not attacking you, it is protecting you. It is not there to shame you, it is there to guide you. It reveals what is misaligned, not to push you away, but to draw you closer to what is true, what is pure, what is eternal. And here is the beautiful mystery. This conviction comes with love, not harshness, not rejection, love. Even as it shows you where you've gone wrong, it wraps itself around you with a quiet assurance that you are not beyond redemption, that you are being called, not cast aside, that there is more for your life than what you have settled for. And in that moment, you stand at a crossroads. You can resist it, or you can respond to it. To resist is to harden your heart, to slowly lose that sensitivity, to drift further away from the very thing trying to lead you into life. But to respond, to truly respond, is to begin a transformation that changes everything. Because when you lean into that conviction, when you allow it to guide you instead of fight it, something begins to shift. Your perspective changes, your desires begin to realign. You start to see clearly what once confused you. And step by step, without even realizing it at first, you begin to walk a different path. Not a perfect path, but a purposeful one. And that's how it begins, not with a dramatic moment, not with a loud declaration, but with a quiet, undeniable conviction that refuses to leave you the same. So if you feel that stirring within you, if something inside is telling you that change is necessary, that you cannot continue as you are, do not ignore it, because that may be the very moment heaven is reaching for you. And everything can change from that one response. And then, almost without warning, something begins to awaken within you, a longing you cannot quite explain. It's not driven by pressure, and it doesn't come from routine. It's deeper than that. It feels as though your soul is reaching for something it has always needed but somehow lived without for so long. You find yourself thinking about God more often, not out of obligation, but out of desire. A quiet pull begins to draw you inward, away from the noise, away from the distractions, into a place where something sacred is waiting. You may notice it in the simplest moments, a sudden urge to pray when you never used to, a curiosity about scripture that feels new and alive. Words that once seemed distant now begin to speak directly to your heart. It's as though something inside of you is being awakened, gently but powerfully, calling you into a deeper connection. This is not something you manufacture. You cannot force this kind of hunger. It comes from beyond you, yet it rises within you. And it is one of the clearest signs that the Spirit is drawing you closer. Because when the Spirit begins to work in your life, He does not only correct you, He draws you. He creates a desire within you for what is holy, for what is eternal. And suddenly the things of God no longer feel like duties, they feel like lifelines. You begin to crave stillness, not because life has slowed down, but because your spirit longs to hear what cannot be heard in the noise. You begin to seek moments alone, not out of isolation, but out of connection. And in those moments, something remarkable happens. You start to feel seen, known, understood in a way you never have before. And yet there may also be a struggle. Because while this hunger grows, the world around you remains the same. The distractions are still there. The routines are still calling. And there may be a tension between what you used to desire and what your spirit now longs for. You may feel pulled in two directions, one familiar, one unknown. But that hunger, it doesn't fade. It persists. It gently interrupts your day, reminding you that there is more. It draws your attention back again and again to something higher, something deeper. And even when you try to ignore it, it waits patiently, ready to meet you the moment you turn toward it. That is the nature of this holy longing. It does not demand, it invites. And the more you respond to it, the stronger it becomes. What begins as a small curiosity turns into a deep desire. What starts as a quiet moment of prayer becomes a place you don't want to leave. You begin to realize that this hunger is not empty. It is being filled, little by little, with peace, with clarity, with a sense of purpose you cannot find anywhere else. And here is the truth that changes everything. This hunger is not a sign of something missing. It is a sign of something being awakened. It means you are being drawn into relationship, not religion, into transformation, not routine, into a life that is not defined by what you see, but by what is being formed within you. So if you find yourself longing for God in a way you never have before, if there is a quiet pull toward prayer, toward truth, toward something deeper, do not question it and do not push it away. Because that hunger is sacred. It is the Spirit reaching for you, inviting you closer, calling you into a place where your life will never be the same again. And when you begin to follow that hunger, you will discover that it was never just you searching for God. It was God drawing you to Himself. And as this work continues within you, something even more remarkable begins to take place. It is as though your inner awareness becomes sharper, clearer, more alive than it has ever been before. You start to notice a difference, not in the world around you, but in how you perceive it. Things you once overlooked now stand out with unmistakable clarity. Situations you once walked through without a second thought now cause you to pause. There is a new sensitivity forming within your spirit. What once felt acceptable may now feel unsettled. Words you once spoke freely may now catch in your heart before they leave your lips. Actions that once seemed harmless may now carry a weight you can no longer ignore. And you may wonder, why do I feel this way now when I never did before? It is because something within you is being refined. The Spirit does not only call you closer. He transforms how you see. He begins to illuminate the difference between what is right and what is merely convenient, between what is true and what is simply familiar. And this is not done through force or fear, but through a quiet awakening of your conscience. It becomes difficult to live in contradiction to what you now recognize as truth. And yet this sensitivity can feel uncomfortable at times. It can feel like a disruption to the life you once knew. You may feel out of place in conversations that once felt natural. You may find yourself withdrawing from environments that no longer align with what you feel inside. And there may be moments when you are tempted to silence that awareness, to return to what felt easier, what felt normal. But something within you resists that return. Because once your eyes begin to open, it is not easy to close them again. This is not a burden, it is a gift. It is the Spirit shaping your heart, guiding you into a life that reflects something greater than yourself. It is a sign that you are no longer living on the surface, but that something deeper is taking root within you. Your choices begin to carry meaning. Your words begin to carry weight. Your actions begin to reflect intention. You begin to desire integrity, not because you are being watched, but because you are being transformed. And in this process, you may also experience a kind of holy tension. There is a pull between who you used to be and who you are becoming. There may be moments of struggle, moments where you fall short, moments where you question yourself. But even in those moments, that sensitivity does not disappear, gently reminding you, quietly guiding you back. And here is what is so powerful. This awareness is not meant to isolate you, it is meant to align you. It is not there to make you feel distant from others, but to bring you closer to truth, closer to purpose, closer to the life you were created to live. You begin to understand that this is not about perfection, it is about direction. It is about allowing that inner voice to lead you step by step into a life that reflects light instead of confusion, peace instead of compromise. And as you respond to that guidance, something begins to settle within you. A quiet confidence, a steady assurance that you are moving in the right direction, even when the path is not always easy. Because this sensitivity is evidence of transformation. It is the sign that your heart is no longer untouched, that your spirit is no longer asleep, that you are being shaped into something new. So if you find yourself noticing things differently, if your heart responds in ways it never did before, if there is a growing awareness within you that gently corrects, that quietly leads, that persistently calls you higher, do not ignore it, because that is the Spirit guiding you into truth. And the more you listen, the more clearly you will see. And just as you begin to grow in this awareness, there comes another experience, one that can feel confusing at first, even unsettling. The path you thought was clear suddenly shifts. Plans you carefully arrange begin to fall apart. Doors you expected to walk through quietly close, sometimes without explanation. And in their place, new directions begin to appear. Unexpected, unfamiliar, and often uncomfortable. It can feel like interruption. It can feel like loss. It can even feel like you are being pushed away from what you once believed was right for you. But what if it is not rejection? What if it is redirection? Because when the Spirit is actively working in your life, He does not simply change your heart. He begins to guide your steps. And that guidance does not always come in the way you expect. Sometimes it comes through the closing of doors you were certain would open. Sometimes it comes through delays that test your patience. Sometimes it comes through circumstances that force you to pause, to reconsider, to listen more closely than you ever have before. And in those moments you may ask, why is this happening? Why now? But there is a deeper purpose unfolding. You see, not every open door is meant for you. Not every opportunity is aligned with your calling. And the Spirit in His wisdom sees what you cannot see. He knows where certain paths would lead, even when they appear promising on the surface. So in His love, He intervenes not to hinder you, but to protect you. There are times when what feels like a setback is actually a safeguard. There are moments when what seems like a loss is actually a release. And though it may not make sense in the moment, there is a quiet guidance at work beneath it all. A steady hand, gently shifting your direction, leading you away from what is not meant for you and drawing you toward what is. This is not always easy to accept, because we become attached to our plans. We invest our time, our energy, our hopes into certain outcomes, and when those outcomes change, it can feel like everything is uncertain. You may feel disoriented, unsure of where to go next, questioning whether you have misunderstood something along the way. But even in that uncertainty, there is something you can hold on to. The same Spirit who stirred your heart, the same Spirit who awakened your hunger, the same Spirit who sharpened your awareness, is the one now guiding your path. And He does not guide aimlessly. Every redirection carries intention. Every closed door carries purpose. Every unexpected turn is leading somewhere, even if you cannot yet see where that is. And here is where trust begins to deepen. Not a surface-level trust, but a deeper surrender. A willingness to release your grip on what you thought your life should look like and to begin embracing what is being placed before you instead. It is in this surrender that clarity begins to emerge, not all at once, but step by step. You begin to see patterns. You begin to understand why certain things did not work out. You begin to recognize that what once felt like confusion was actually guidance in disguise. And with that realization comes peace. Not because everything is perfectly clear, but because you know you are not being led randomly. You are being led with purpose. So when plans change, when doors close, when life takes an unexpected turn, do not be too quick to assume something has gone wrong, because it may be the very moment something is being made right. It may be the Spirit gently stepping in, redirecting your course, aligning your life with something far greater than you had imagined. And if you can learn to trust in that redirection even when it is difficult, even when it is unclear, you will find yourself walking into places you never could have reached on your own. Because sometimes the greatest guidance comes not from the doors that open, but from the ones that close. And as you continue walking through these moments of change, conviction, and redirection, something begins to settle within you that cannot be explained by your circumstances. It does not come from everything going right. It does not depend on clarity or control. In fact, it often appears when life feels the most uncertain. Right in the middle of questions, delays, and unseen outcomes, there is a calm that begins to rise from within. It is quiet yet unmistakable. You may still face challenges. You may still carry responsibilities, pressures, and concerns that have not disappeared. But somehow they no longer carry the same weight. There is a steadiness in your spirit that holds you, even when everything around you feels unsteady. And you may find yourself wondering, why do I feel this peace when nothing around me has changed? This is not something the world gives. Because the peace that comes from circumstances will always fluctuate with circumstances. When things go well, it stays. When things fall apart, it leaves. But this peace remains. It does not rush in loudly, and it does not demand attention. It simply settles like a gentle assurance that you are being held, that you are being guided, that you are not alone in what you are facing. It is a presence more than a feeling, and you begin to notice it in the most unexpected moments. In the middle of a difficult conversation, when you expected anxiety but instead feel calm. In the middle of uncertainty, when you expected fear but instead feel a quiet confidence. In the middle of waiting, when you expected frustration but instead feel a sense of trust. It does not always remove the situation, but it transforms how you walk through it. And this is where something deeper begins to happen. Because this peace is not just comforting you, it is strengthening you. It is teaching you that your stability does not have to come from what you can control, but from what is guiding you beyond your control. It is showing you that even when answers are delayed, you can still stand firm. Even when the path is unclear, you can still move forward without fear consuming you. There is a shift taking place. You are no longer reacting the way you once did. Situations that would have overwhelmed you before now meet a different response. You pause, you breathe, you trust. Not because everything makes sense, but because something within you has become anchored. And yet there may be moments when this peace is tested. Moments when circumstances intensify, when emotions rise, when doubt tries to return. But even then, there is something deeper that does not fully disappear. It may feel quieter in those moments, but it is still there waiting for you to return your focus, waiting for you to remember what has already been placed within you. Because this peace is not fragile, it is steady, it is enduring. It is rooted in something far beyond temporary conditions. And as you continue to recognize it, to trust it, to lean into it, it begins to shape the way you live. You become less driven by fear and more guided by assurance. Less shaken by uncertainty and more grounded in trust. You begin to walk through life not as someone who is constantly searching for stability, but as someone who carries it within. And others may notice it. They may not understand it, but they will see it. A calm in your presence, a steadiness in your words, a strength that does not come from striving, but from surrender. And without saying a word, your life begins to reflect something deeper than what can be explained. Because this peace is a sign. It is a sign that you are not walking this path alone, that even in the unknown, you are being guided with care, that even in the waiting, something is being formed within you that is stronger than what surrounds you. So when you feel that calm in the middle of chaos, when you experience that quiet assurance without a visible reason, do not dismiss it. Because that peace is not accidental. It is the Spirit reminding you that no matter what you face, you are being held. And as all of this begins to unfold within you, the conviction, the hunger, the awareness, the redirection, the peace, there comes a moment where the change is no longer just something you feel, it becomes something you choose. You begin to notice that the life you once held onto so tightly no longer fits the same way. The habits, the patterns, the attachments that once defined your days begin to lose their grip on your heart. It's not always sudden. It doesn't always happen all at once. But slowly, unmistakably, something within you begins to let go. And this is where transformation becomes deeply personal. Because now, it is not just about what is being revealed to you. It is about what you are willing to release. There may be things you once enjoyed that no longer bring the same satisfaction. Conversations that once felt natural may now feel empty. Environments that once felt comfortable may now feel misaligned. And you may find yourself standing in moments of quiet realization, aware that you cannot continue in the same way and still become who you are being called to be. This can feel like loss at first, because letting go is rarely easy. Even when you know something is no longer right for you, there can still be a sense of familiarity, a sense of attachment that makes it difficult to walk away. You may wrestle with questions. You may hesitate. You may wonder if you are ready. But deep within there is a knowing, a quiet certainty that what lies ahead is greater than what you are leaving behind. And so you begin to take steps, small at first, intentional, sometimes uncertain, but guided. You begin to turn away from what no longer aligns and turn toward what is being placed before you. And with each step, something begins to shift more deeply within your spirit. Because you are not just changing your actions, you are allowing your identity to be reshaped. You are no longer holding on to who you used to be simply because it is familiar. You are allowing yourself to become who you were always meant to be. And that requires surrender. It requires trust. It requires the willingness to release what is comfortable in exchange for what is true. There may be moments when you look back. Moments when you are tempted to return to what you knew, to what felt easier, to what required less of you. But even in those moments, something within you will not fully allow it. Because once transformation has begun, your spirit recognizes the difference. It knows what is real. It knows what is life-giving. And you cannot unknow that. So you keep moving forward. Not perfectly, but purposefully. And as you do, you begin to experience something remarkable. The things you once struggled to release no longer hold the same power over you. The desires that once controlled you begin to fade. And in their place, new desires begin to grow. Desires that reflect peace, truth, and purpose. You begin to find joy in places you never expected. Strength in moments where you once felt weak. Clarity where there was once confusion. And all of it points to one truth. You are being transformed from the inside out. This is not behavior modification. This is renewal, and it is ongoing. Because transformation is not a single moment, it is a continuous unfolding, a daily choosing, a steady becoming. And the more you lean into it, the more you allow yourself to let go of what no longer serves your spirit, the more fully you step into the life that is waiting for you. So if you feel that pull to release old patterns, to walk away from what no longer aligns, to become something new even when it feels unfamiliar, do not resist it. Because that desire is not asking you to lose yourself. It is leading you to find who you truly are. And everything begins to change the moment you are willing to let go.